Harmonics, in my opinion, one of the most interesting parts of music theory, but also incredibly vital to playing the flute, namely getting your second octave. Thankfully though, if you've been following along and managed to get the highest note of our 1 octave scale, you've already played your first harmonic and are ready to give this a crack. But let's go back to that, cover all of the holes and play the fundamental pitch. Now, blow a little faster, a little higher, and stop covering hole 1 with your left pointer. As we discovered before, this plays 1 octave above the fundamental. But now try to do the same thing, but without lifting your left pointer. You may have to blow the airstream quite a lot higher and quite a lot faster, but as you can now hear, we're playing 2 notes 1 octave apart with the same fingering. And in fact, we can go even further. The higher you try to go, the harder and harder it gets in order to get the notes out. But as you can see, we can play quite a few notes using just this one fingering. So what's happening here? Well, this is called the harmonic series. Basically, when you hear a note, you're also hearing several other notes all playing all at the same time. Just much quieter. As a result of being quiet, instead of sounding like separate notes all harmonizing together, they instead blend together to form the tone of the instrument. On flute, we're able to manipulate these harmonics in order to make some louder and some softer, which is what allows flute to have such a great degree of control over its tone. But this is also how we're able to play the second octave, by taking those harmonics and making them their own individual notes. To understand this, let's look at a stringed instrument like the guitar. When we pluck the lowest string, it produces the note E, but there's also many other notes being produced at the same time. We can force these out by placing our finger gently over specific parts of the string. If we pluck and then place our finger halfway up the string, we get the octave above E. If we pluck the string and then place our finger a third of the way up, we get 1 octave and a fifth, B. And at 1/5, we get 2 octaves and a major third, G, etc, etc. You see, we're forcing the string to vibrate at the point where we hold our finger, meaning that if there's a harmonic there, only that harmonic will sound. By playing the second harmonic halfway up the string, we're essentially forcing the string to split in 2. This forces it to not sound the fundamental and only sound the second harmonic. Well, going back to the flute, we're essentially doing the same thing. By lifting our left pointer, we're forcing the airstream to vibrate in 2 halves, meaning that it sounds 1 octave higher. But we can also do this with our mouth. So now try and play the second harmonic, but with only blowing a little faster and a little higher on the lowest note. Once you can do this with all of the holes down, try and do it with the 6th hole raised. And then try and do it with the 5th hole raised, slowly going up and up. As you get higher and higher, it gets more difficult, and so you may want to refer to the fingerings in your fingering chart, as some notes have special fingerings in order to make it easier to get a note out. But otherwise, don't expect yourself to be able to do this immediately, or even particularly quickly. Just work on it slowly, and as you get better, you'll be able to play higher and higher. Once you start getting the hang of playing a few of the second octave notes, you may want to play them back to back. In fact, you may even want to play them from the very lowest note all the way up to the highest note that you can play in a scale. This helps you get used to the way that the flute adjusts as you play higher and higher. It may take some time to be able to play the full range of your flute, but once you get to 2 octaves, you'll be able to play a very large catalogue of music. However, it is now time to start working on getting those notes to sound nice and pretty, which leads us to our next video on tone, dynamics, and articulation.